Hello. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome you all here. The press has been notified as required by the Freedom of Information Act. And at this time, we'd like to call the roll, please.
Mr. Tyson?
Here.
Mr. Coleman?
Here.
Mr. Dawes?
Yes.
Dr. Decker?
Here.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Elmore?
Here.
Mr. Freeman?
Here.
Mr. Dunn?
Here.
Mrs. Hartman? Here. Mr. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Right.
Ms. Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Lee?
Here.
Mr. McIntyre?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Dr. Kelly?
All right. Quorum is present. Thank you.
I got it.
You have received a copy of the minutes from our March 1st meeting. Any additions or corrections?
Move that we accept as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's approved. Thank you. We'll start our committee reports. The Executive Affairs Committee met this morning, and we have several resolutions. You have a copy of them. I'll go through. The first one is the resolution for approval of the annual self-evaluation reviews for the Board of Trustees, and that was completed at our March 18 meeting, and that's something that we're required to have a resolution for.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak on that
Yes.
briefly? That's included, although the SACs just adopted this as a requirement, its December meeting, it was included in our on-site visit as a requirement that we had to satisfy. If you remember at the February meeting, early March meeting, we distributed the self-evals, you completed them. And so now you're adopting the resolution that will memorialize the fact that we'll do this yearly. I believe Dr. Wages will have ready at the August meeting the summary of your self-evals, and we'll spend a few minutes talking about that summary. In future years, it's this meeting when you'll do the self-eval, the last meeting of the fiscal year, and then the first meeting of the next fiscal year, we'll do the analysis.
But they all believe that they did it at the March meeting.
Well, they did do it at the March meeting, but next year they'll do it at the June meeting. Are you trying to trick me, Mr. Chairman? Because that's not hard to do.
Mr. Chairman, the resolution says it will be annually at the spring meeting. Does that need to be revised?
No, this is the spring meeting. Okay.
Late spring.
In your bylaw, no, this is the spring meeting. The winter meeting is the February meeting. This is the spring meeting. This is a meeting that traditionally is held in April or May, but we've moved it back to June, hoping that the budget would be completed by now. But of course, this is another year in which the state budget's not quite completed. But let me respond to Trustee Elmore. This is the spring meeting.
Okay.
August is the summer meeting.
Any other questions or comments related to the resolution? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Is a second and discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Resolution 618 is the resolution for the name of the Tom Root Physiology Laboratory. As you all know, Dr. Root was a very distinguished faculty member here in the biology department, and this is recognizing his contribution to Francis Marion. And any questions or discussion? Anybody like to comment? If not,
Well, I'd like to just say, because I was a biology major and had Dr. Root. He's probably one of the finest teachers I ever had.
yeah.
And, you know, when I went on to get my master's in exercise phys, his physiology course prepared me so much better than any of the students that were in that program with me. He exemplified what a teacher is. You know, he knew you, he knew you personally, he cared about his students, and he made it fun. So that's all.
As everybody around this table knows, Tom Roop got more of our kids in medical school than probably the rest of our faculty combined. Tom had an enormous reputation with the medical school admissions committees throughout the Southeast, and his recommendation was solid gold with those committees.
Well, it's nice we can recognize him this way. Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion, second,
Second.
and discussion. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is approved. The next is Resolution 718, a resolution for the naming of the David M. Peterson Nuclear Physics Laboratory. Dr. Peterson passed away this past year, and he also was a very accomplished and well-respected faculty member, and this will recognize him in the naming of this laboratory in his memory. Any comments or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would just speak to the unique significance of this laboratory. David was responsible for largely bringing the nuclear aspects of physics to this campus, and as many of you know, he was one of the founders of our health physics program. Of course, the other part of this is that David served the last 15 years as chair of the physics department and was the chair who was responsible for developing the engineering program on this campus as well. So,
I was reminded we don't need a motion for these resolutions, but we do need a second. If someone.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's approved. And the final resolution from the Executive Committee is Resolution 818 for the naming of Hayward Drive, after Dr. Joe Hayward, who served the university in many capacities and was here for over 3 decades. And we would honor him by naming Hayward Drive, which is the main road coming in off of 327, which was Warehouse Drive and then Patriot Drive, and when we do this, it would be Hayward Drive in honor of him. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I would just note that Dr. Hayward served in almost every position on this campus, including interim president, between April 1999
I remember.
and when I left the Budget Control Board in July 1999. So Dr. Hayward served across the process, and nobody loves this university more than Joe Hayward does.
Yeah, he's a good guy. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's approved. There was no further action taken by the Executive Committee, and that ends our report. Next, we'll have academic affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a very productive meeting this afternoon, very busy. And heard from Enrollment Management. Associate Provost Alyssa Waters reported that applications and admittees are up for the fall. They've been doing a series of orientations. They've got 9 scheduled over the course of the summer for freshmen and transfer students. And 3 of those have already taken place. One was a scholarship awards day orientation where 90 scholarship awardees were in attendance. They had an overnight overnight orientation, and also a transfer orientation. They've got one coming up on June 25th, next Monday. They've got 325 students signed up to attend, so those are going really well. Additionally, 136 freshmen have accepted scholarship offers for the 2018-2019 academic year. That includes 2 McNair scholarships, 2 Condora scholarships, and 5 Heart of the PD scholarships. And also today is the final day for the Swamp Fox Seminar. That's the program that allows students whose test scores were just below our minimum requirements to attend a course over the summer. Basically, they're instructed on math, logic, and college skills, and if they successfully complete the course, they will become eligible for admission. So that ended today. As of May, there were 346 graduates. For the year, that gave us 655 graduates, and then we've got at least 34 signed up to graduate in August. So everything's going well there. Coming up in the fall, we've got several programs that are starting. The board has heard about these programs and approved them. We heard from Dr. Gurley that the faculty has elected committee members for the professional experience and applied knowledge, the PEAK program, and that is ready to roll out in the fall. Additionally, CHE has approved both the Masters in Education to include alternative certifications to address the shortage of teachers in the PD and statewide, and also the Bachelor of Science in Healthcare Informatics. Those programs are both set to start in the fall as well. I have a resolution 0518. I believe all the board members should have received a copy already. Basically, this is a resolution ratifying 2 new options of adult gerontology, acute care nurse practitioner, and psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner in the Master of Science in Nursing. These programs are to address shortages in both gerontology and mental health areas, particularly in the PD area. We heard from Dr. Whitman Price about the programs, and basically they don't necessarily need approval for us to go forward, but they would like our ratification, and these will be presented to CHE. So if I could present that to the board, we unanimously agreed upon it in committee and would like to go forward on it.
That's resolution 518 that's been presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's approved.
And finally, we heard from Dr. Durant. The library is installing a new security system, uses radio frequency ID. 300,000 books are getting magnetic strips placed in them, so if any of you have some free time on your hands, I think the library would welcome you over. But they're about a quarter or a third of the way through the process and hope to have that wrapped up sometime in the fall. And that concludes my report.
Next, we have Development and Alumni. Trustee Elmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met this afternoon and received reports from Darrell Bridges, Vice President for Development and also Lee Daltrey, Director of Alumni Affairs. Starting with development, the Tax Center upcoming season has a variety of entertainment options in musical genres, including Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Mary Chapin Carpenter, The Outlaws, Chris Christopherson, who probably only Mr. Dozier and I know who he is. The Christmas Carol, Second City, and several others. On the education development side and foundation side, we have some fully endowed new scholarships, one of which is a Dr. Morgan Coker Scholarship, which was founded and funded by his former students and members of the faculty, and as well as the Dr. Linda Jacobs Scholarship. We have an interesting new scholarship that is funded by an alumni graduate of USC who is a nurse practitioner in the Rock Hill area, who solicited, I'll say, requests for qualifications to who he could give his money to help fund the nurse practitioner program. We won out over his alma mater, and that is a Lily Cave Scholarship. A number of local municipalities have also set up scholarships, including Marion and Mullins, as well as the Community Bank Scholarship. The Education Foundation also received a grant recently from Duke University Foundation to assist us in acquiring equipment for the mechanical engineering program, which is one of the things that we need to show to CHE in order to get approval to implement that program. Perhaps more importantly, the Education Foundation once again received an unmodified audit opinion letter, which I think is a testament to the stewardship of the foundation funds by those who were administrating it, including Darrell. On the alumni side, Lee told us that homecoming was a great success. They added a homecoming eve event, which was so successful that either the venue is going to have to be enlarged or an additional night is going to have to be added. So it may become a homecoming midweek weekend event as opposed to just homecoming weekend. There are 8 new board members on the alumni board. 5 are married to former or married to alumni, which is interesting. None of those 8 board members are from the PD. There are a couple of alumni events coming up. Sunoco is having a Patriot Power Lunch on July the 17th for those of you who are in the area. And Trustee Brown is underwriting another event later in the summer over in Hartsville as well for the alumni. There's renewed focus on the Charleston area and moving alumni events around the state, as well as on the development side of implementing new programs and reaching additional contributors to the university. That concludes my report.
Good. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. Next we have Financial Affairs and Facilities. Trustee Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. The Financial Affairs and Facilities Committee met this afternoon. We were fortunate to be joined by Jay Kispert, Vice President for Business Affairs. Everyone should have a copy of the budget review summary in front of them, so we'll start with that. Basically what we're doing is reviewing where we stand in the budget process for the school year 2017-2018. So these will be numbers through May 31st, not reflecting where we are 3 weeks into June since we last reported back in March. Regarding revenues, our spring revenues finalized at 99.8% of our target budget expectation. Overall, we can expect that by year end we will have met roughly 99% of our anticipated revenue targets. Related to expenses, also as of the report date, our general funds were 87.1% expended, which is in line with the expected percentage expenditures as of the reporting date. It would be 92%, and is comparable to where we stood this time last year. All other funds, revenues, and expenses reported are within budget parameters at this time, with nothing of interest to report at this time. As it relates to employee headcount, that would be on the next page. Our current headcount sits at 503. FTEs sit at 450.69. The 4-year change on headcount is 16, 13.4 on FTEs. We did have an increase of 1. We had an increase of 1 in headcount, and that was due to creation of the Director of Institutional Planning position, which will assist the university in the management of the accreditation process. Office of Financial Assistant noted no change to the financial aid report since our last quarterly update. And that's a recap of the budget review summary. You also should have in front of you Resolution 09-18. That's related to adoption of the university budget for fiscal 2018-2019. I'd like to review some of the highlights contained in that if I could. Resolution 09-18 seeks to establish the fiscal year 2018-19 general operating budget for the university. A brief overview of the financial considerations included with the budget are as follows. New revenues and expenses. The current appropriation bill, understanding that bill's not quite been finalized yet, hopefully that will be finalized on June the 27th, when that's my understanding that they'll reconvene. We would have an increase of $544,000 in our recurring base funds, $5 million for our medical and health education classroom complex, $2.4 million for our honors learning center. I believe $300,000 of that is a carry forward from this year. We've already received $3 million per the state capital reserve bill for 2017-2018 for the medical and health education classroom complex. We'll enroll our second cohort of physician assistant students. I believe that would be a class of 32. And our first cohort of speech pathology students, I believe that would be a class of 25 in the fall of 2018. These additions will yield respectively approximately $921,000 and $960,000. Also included within this resolution is a 2% increase in tuition and fees, which will generate approximately $740,000. This increase is primarily due to the increase in employer fringe costs that are being felt this year due to a 1% increase in retirement contributions and a 6.2% increase in health insurance costs that are set to occur in January 2019. This increase will be a $102 per semester tuition increase for our resident undergraduate students. We currently estimate that the state will cover approximately $145,000 of the cost of the state retirement fringe increase of $439,000. The cost increase is related to the state retirement reform that took effect in July of 2017. There's no planned increase in employee contributions to retirement this fiscal year within the plan. Looking to the future, we will see employee retirement fringe rates continue to increase by 1% annually until 2024. Let me just also note that that 2% increase applies to tuition and university fees, does not apply to housing or meals. They'll involve no increase there. So, Mr. Chairman, our committee adopted that resolution unanimously, and we would like to present it to you and the full board for your consideration.
Thank you. That's Resolution 918 you have before you. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, questions? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion's approved.
Thank you, sir. If there are not any further questions, that concludes my report.
Good. Thank you. Next, we have Student Affairs and Athletics. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Student Affairs and Athletics Committee met this afternoon, and we were happy to have Trustee Doug join us as our newest committee member. We received a report from VP of Student Affairs, Teresa Ramey, and our athletic director, Murray Hartzler. In Student Affairs, the Student Life Awards were recently held. The highest honor that group can bestow upon an individual is the Leadership Legacy Award, and 2 of those were presented at the Student Life Awards to names that will be familiar to this group. Frederica Presley and Mercedes Smith were recipients. The Organization of the Year was the Baptist Christian Ministry, and the Advisor of the Year was David Baxley from Student Media. The staff has been busy working with Student Government Association and others for getting prepared for freshman move-in, which will be Saturday, August the 18th. You're all invited to join. And then also planning is underway for Welcome Week activities, which will have a campus-wide approach. So it'll be, in addition to Student Affairs, there'll be many other groups from campus involved, and more information will be forthcoming on that. A little later this summer, Teresa Ramey will take 4 of our Student Government Association executive officers to Orlando to attend the American Student Government Association annual meeting. So we'll look forward to hearing all about that upon their return. I'm sure the training will be outstanding, as we always have a very good Student Government Association. Turning to athletics, Murray reported that our student athlete spring GPA came in at 2.942, which was well above the overall student body average. 108 Patriots student athletes were named to the Swamp Fox Honor Roll for the 2018 spring semester. And then 9 students were inducted into the Chi Alpha Sigma National Athletic Honor Society, which brings our cumulative total to 184 student athletes over the last 18 years. So congratulations to those students. In addition, student athletes Brianna Burgeons and Brooke Dixon Aaron Seymour were named Arthur Ashe Jr. Sports Scholar. They received Arthur Ashe Jr. Sports Scholar awards for 2018. Men's basketball, as you all may know, went to the NCAA regionals, where they lost a thriller on a buzzer beater to UNC Pembroke. And speaking of basketball, Dietrich Browning's jersey was retired at the athletic gala, which was held this year at a new venue, the Performing Arts Center, which was just an outstanding new venue. And the event was on Facebook Live. So some of you may have seen that. And then also wrapping up athletics, the Swamp Fox Athletic Auction had its highest grossing total ever in the history of the auction. So thanks to all who contributed and helped out with that. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Good. Thank you very much. Any questions? That ends our committee reports. Next, we have the President's report. Dr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me take just a couple of minutes. First of all, thank the board members for passing the 2% tuition increase. As Trustee Jones indicated earlier, this money's largely being used, the 2% that's contained in this year's tuition increase, to address state obligations that are being passed on to us. The portion of the unfunded state pension liability that each agency is expected to assume a larger percentage of, and increase state health care costs for staff and faculty. And so this is a very deliberative increase on our part, one that we cautiously moved into. Everybody at this table knows we try to keep tuition as low as possible. I will tell the board members that this is to date, among the colleges and universities in the state, this 2% tuition increase is the lowest increase among the existing colleges and universities out there that have taken action on tuition so far this year. And it will further ensconce our place among the colleges and universities as having one of the lowest tuitions in the state. And we're of course very, very proud of that, keeping that tuition low. Let me talk about very briefly the rainwater building, the building that was conveyed from the city of Florence to us last week or 2 weeks ago. That's our fifth building downtown. And no, we're not moving our campus downtown. Frequently, every time something like that appears in the news, I get a call from some alum that says, are you moving the campus downtown? No, we're not. But I just want to remind every trustee here, there are three principal missions of this university. One is teaching, one is research, and one is service. We talk all the time about the excellence of teaching on this campus. We've talked more and more the last 4 or 5 years about our increased research effort among our faculty. That rainwater building is a very, very important part of that third mission, that service mission. That building will be used to incubate small businesses, new businesses for Florence and Florence County. It'll be used to provide small business assistance, support for businesses throughout the region. But it'll be located downtown, which is where many of those businesses are located. So that's sensible as well. And we're pleased that there'll be an additional space in that rainwater building that will, on the first floor, that will actually use for the university to open its first downtown art gallery. You know, when we built the PAC, we actually discussed the possibility at some point doing something for the visual arts downtown. And many of you won't remember this, I do. We had even talked back then about, you know, there's the space between the PAC and Palmetto Street. Maybe at some point we could go back and construct a small art gallery there to sit alongside the Performing Arts Center. Well, the city relieved us of that necessity by giving us a terrific historic old building that's going to look magnificent when we get the renovations complete. And that first floor will serve as the ideal art gallery for downtown. Our fine arts department will curate that first for art gallery. They're the ones who'll make determinations on what juried exhibits will be shown there. And Keith has assured me that we'll focus very, very heavily on South Carolina artists and regional artists to give them the opportunity to showcase their art in a fitting exhibition space. Let me talk very, very quickly about the state budget. We've done very well this year in the state budget. Right now, that $8 million for the renovation for the old post office is nailed down in both the House and Senate versions of the bill. So that's not an issue for discussion at conference. So that, assuming the governor doesn't veto the $8 million, the $8 million will be there for us to begin the renovation of the old post office beginning after the budget becomes effective the 1st of July. You know, what that means is from the acquisition of the building, you guys remember Bruce and Lee and the city of Florence came together with our own development foundation last year, a year ago February, gifted the building to us. So from the acquisition of the building till now, some 15, 16 months, we're ready to go with the renovation. That's going to be a terrific addition to the university. That should satisfy the needs for our health science and medical science needs on this campus for the next 10 to 15 years. I'm very, very optimistic about that. And let me also say this, Philip Lowe worked very, very hard on the House to get that money secured. And of course, our patriarch, Senator Leatherman, worked diligently on the Senate side and in conference to secure that money for us. I'm also optimistic we may not get all of the money for that additional money, $2.1 million for the Honor Center, but I'm fairly optimistic that we'll get a chunk of it. So far, we've received $1.1 million. We need $2.1 million more for us to begin construction. My sense is we'll do well coming out of conference on that $2.1 million, even if we don't get all. And of course, as Chairman Jones told us, Trustee Jones will also have that 544 recurring to go to our base budget, which further helps reduce control the costs inside the university. So coming up in this fall, we'll start our speech therapy program. We've waited a long time to do that. I think that's going to meet a compelling need, not just across the region, but across the state. This coming year, we will bring to the board proposals to create a new mechanical engineering program. It'll go to the faculty in the fall, and once the faculty's passed it and dealt with the curricular issues, we'll be bringing it to the board. Hopefully as early as November, perhaps as late as January, depending upon how it flows through the faculty committees and the faculty. Thank you for passing the 2 nursing programs today. Geriatric nursing and psychiatric nursing are so critically needed in this region. As my nursing dean Ruth reminds me over and over again, these are going to be terrific programs, and they're going to change the lives of a lot of people by the care this university can provide to people out across the region. We do a great job training healthcare professionals, and we're even going to get better and better in the years ahead. I'm very, very proud of that. Let me also conclude by just reminding the university trustees that the university's never been in better shape financially. Our reserves are sound, our endowment's thriving. We're doing very, very well, which is one reason we can keep our tuition as moderate as we do. You know, this is a great place to go to school for quality education. But it's a great place for parents to send their students, their children, simply because we work so hard to try to keep the costs manageable. And we work very, very hard to keep the debt that those graduates accrue as manageable as possible. So that's my report, Mr. Chairman. Just want to thank all the trustees for their support.
Thank you. We don't have any unfinished business. A couple items on new business. I felt like to welcome Paul Dove to our board at the beginning of the meeting. He was here with us last time, but this is his first official meeting. And Paul serves in the 5th District seat, and that's the one formerly held by Mark Bunch. Paul's part of our FMU family, retired from FMU, longtime dean of the library, and we're glad to have you on board. Look forward to working with you. Also, earlier today, I was presented with a survey. The results of a survey was given to me by Glenn Gorley, the chairman of the Faculty Senate. And each year, each full-time member of the university completes a survey concerning our president. And it asks questions about leadership style, duties, skills, status, and progress of the university. It's 22 questions. And I'm pleased to report to you on a scale of 5.0, our president received a 4.67 rating, which is extremely high, and I think is just a testament to the respect that he has from our faculty and staff. And we all know and appreciate him, but this is evidence that all the people who work here do as well. You know, we heard at lunch that Francis Marion for the 5th year and hopefully for the 6th will be named as one of the best places to work, and right here is a big part of that. And we just want to thank you and congratulate you, and we just want you to know how grateful we are for your leadership, and it's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just say this. Thank you all for coming today to the staff awards. That the presence of these trustees in that room means an awful lot to the men and women of this university. I think you all felt that today, and you all saw that. They love seeing their trustees at events. Thank you.
We do not need an executive session meeting, so at this time, this is the end of my 2-year term as chairman, so I'm going to turn the gavel over to your new chairman, Mr. Lee, and just want to thank you all for allowing me to serve in this capacity. It's a pleasure to be on this board with each of you. I can't imagine there's a better board and one that works together any better than this one. And it's been an honor to serve, and I appreciate it.
Just a few things I'd like to say. First of all, with the change in the board, with the leadership structured, your leadership is now set for the next 6 years, in that I am the chair and I'll be succeeded by the vice chair, Randy Dozier. So when it comes to board assignments to committees, those assignments are going to be made by the chair and the vice chair. So if you want to serve on a committee, please let one or both of us know. But we're going to sit down and make those assignments together. And that's just, we wanted to do this so we have continuity. We're going to appoint people so we have continuity. Before we close, one of the things I do have to say something about Ken. Ken and I have been serving on the board for 20 years together, and we'll begin our 21st year. And I remember where we were, and I remember what we were doing when we decided that we need to run for the board. And it's one of the best decisions I know I've made. And each time when it's come time to be reelected, Ken and I get together and discuss, have we done all we can do? Is there more for us to do? We always have decided there's more for us to do. I think Fred said it best today when he's talking to the employees. He said, you know, you need to be able to look back at your life and say, what I've done is meaningful. And I think what Ken has done and what I've done, and I know he would say about his own life, what he's done here for the last 20 years has been very meaningful. He has done a lot to shape the university and where it's headed and where it is. And so I deeply appreciate him as a leader, as a fellow trustee, and as a friend, and someone whom I look to for advice. But in so doing, before we adjourn, I've been given the this plaque to give him. It says, "To Kenneth W. Jackson, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Francis Marion University, in February 2016 to 2018, in appreciation of his distinguished service and exemplary leadership on behalf of the Board of Trustees, faculty, and students."
Yep.